was saying, this is my first presentation ever, so if I look a little bit nervous, it's just because I'm terrified. So bear with me, at least for the first 15 minutes of the presentation. So, let's start. The title, so far, of my project is going to be the Socratic and Cathartic methods, a comparative study. And the project aims to explore the history and philosophy of psychoanalysis and its relation particularly to Plato. The motivation is threefold for my study. First of all, there is a personal interest. I was always fascinated by these two great thinkers, Plato and Freud. And then, of course, there's a heritage, which definitely played an important role in my subject choice, being Greek. And, of course, the academic interest. My master here in Essex has given me the chance to enhance my knowledge and understanding of psychoanalysis. And I found out that the more I learned about Freud, the more I started seeing similarities between, as well as differences, of course, between the two methodologies and theories. Now, let's move on to the focus of the study, which ambivalently, if I may, it's going to be either twofold or threefold. Initially, it was supposed to be threefold, but after the feedback that I had, I'm considering it. So, first, I'm going to try to explore Freud's, of course, cathartic method, as it was employed by him during the first and early years of his career. Secondly, I'm going to try to explore the cathartic method as it was employed by Socrates, and as it is, of course, portrayed by his student and follower, Plato. The third, which I'm not still sure, is I was hoping to try and establish any historical links between Platonic and psychoanalytic methodologies and theories. Now, literature. What do we know about the cathartic method? Freudian catharsis. I'm going to start off with a passage from Studies of Hysteria. So Freudian catharsis brings to an end the operative force of the idea which was not abreacted in the first instance by allowing its triangulated effect to find a way through speech. And it subjects it to associative correction by introducing it into normal consciousness or by removing it through the physician's suggestion. Again, the element of language here is very important. There are certain requirements that catharsis holds. First, according to Freud, and this comes from two of his texts on methodology. The first is from Studies of Hysteria, the second is on psychotherapy, 1904. First, a certain amount of intelligence is required by the patient. Of course, there's the consent, that is certainly given. Then attention is necessary, full attention of the patient. Then there's the confidence the analyst must have, confidence of his abilities. There's also the element of pressure that has to be applied to the patient on different and various forms. And pressure here is also important because it was what actually hinted Freud into figuring out that he was fighting an actual resistance. Then there's the confirmation. We've talked about the Tally argument. There's a confirmation that needs to happen of the analyst's interpretations. Patience is crucial, of course, by both. And, of course, there's the readiness. The patient has to exhibit readiness, and in particular, Freud thought that a non-educable person must be excluded from such a treatment. The analyst's role is to enlighten, where ignorance has caused fear, to be a teacher, to be a representative of the superior view of the world, and to act as a father confessor, who of course respects the person in front of him, even after the confession has been made. In Freud's own words from 1904 on psychotherapy, catharsis is a re-education in overcoming internal resistances. Now, what do we know about the Socratic method? What does literature tell us about that? Kane has a very interesting book and work on the Socratic method. He calls it a moral improvement through self-knowledge. And Kane proposes a model which, and in this model, according to him, the Socratic method employs three different functions. The first is that of elenchos. Literally, elenchos in Greek means to set light into something. And elenchos happens through examination, refutation, and denial. Literal denial, that is, of the actual thesis the interlocutor is taking. Then there's the epistemic function. The Socratic method seeks a truth, and so it uses what is it questions to try to define the concept. And there's also the protreptic function, by which Plato, in this particular instance, is trying to lead towards specific moral positions. In simpler words, the Socratic method includes refuting the interlocutor by testing what he claims to know or believe for consistency. And during this process, a thesis that the interlocutor accepts is put forth, and by means of questions and answers, Plato's Socrates succeeds in drawing a conclusion directly opposite to the initial thesis from premises that the interlocutor accepts. Plastos gives a very nice definition of the Socratic method, which is that it is a search for moral truth by adversary argument in which the thesis is debated only if asserted as the answerer's own belief, and is regarded as refuted if and only if the negation on his thesis is deduced by his own beliefs. Now, what is the common ground between the two methods? First of all, they both aim for self-knowledge. They both use verbalization. They both want an improvement of the quality of life. They both consider education very important and moral improvement. They both share very similar characteristics of the doctor, or what the doctor and the patient, in the second case at least, should have. And they both account for the person's individuality, for his individual emotions, beliefs, and all that. And lastly, but not least, they aim for the balance of the self. And what we mean by balance is the balance between the different parts of the psyche or the soul, depending on what we're talking about, the topography and the tripartite soul. Plato also thought of, eventually in the end of his career, we may say, as the soul consisting of three different parts, much similar to Freud's, reason, spirit, and appetites in particular. I think we can already see the similarities, how that might coincide. And differences, although they're not here as many as the common ground, the differences are mainly in their theoretical framework. For example, what's the function of the different parts of the psyche, or how they interact between them. The key questions that I'm going to try to answer, they're more like a theme and might help looking